JDL USA presents Rabbi Nachum Shifren, public speaker, author, and good friend of the late Rabbi Meir Kahana.
Well, we are back with another week, and this week's Parsha, very big stuff going on. If you like to swim or go in unknown waters, this is just for you. The Jewish people crossed the Red Sea. Egyptians are chasing them, threatening to kill them. They cry out to God. Moses is davening, he's praying. God says, and you'll love this if you're a tiny bit irreverent, you'll really get a kick out of this. God says, stop praying. It's not the time for prayer, it's the time for action. I told you to go cross the sea, go into the water. And of course, once a brave Jew jumped in the water, Adav, and then the Red Sea parted. All God wanted to do was, he wanted to see some action. You know, a lot of times people are got a very strange notion about the fact that people could be cleaving to God all day long and, you know, get in a lotus position. Not we, but some people do. And no, he wants to see some action. That's why we have mitzvot. Mitzvot are something very important. You know, we light candles. We make a sanctification of the Sabbath on wine, things like that. Anyway, let's get back to reality here. A very strange thing is going on here. The Jews are being attacked by the Egyptians, and as they get near the water, we're talking about, 1 million or so people getting ready to cross through the river, the Red Sea. And it's interesting. Before we even get to that, the Red Sea is actually pretty close to the Sinai, the other side of the Sinai peninsula, in which we find the country called Gaza. Just to go back, before we talk about the Parsha and crossing the Red Sea, just a real quick review or a look backwards. You know, throughout the history of the human race, it's been known and it's been ruled that whoever wins a war is the conqueror and conquers that people that they won, and they dictate the terms, right? They dictate the peace. We talked about this before. On a ship in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Japanese signed unlimited surrender, right? Same thing with the Germans. Israel's won 5 wars and there's been no surrender. There's been no Israel, dictates the conditions to the enemy. Here we have, for 50 years, Israel's been fighting Arabs. And here we have a Gentile president who does more in one day to vanquish the Palestinian people in Gaza than all the Jewish generals. It blows your mind when you start thinking about these things. But I have a very, very bad feeling in my heart. I'll just reveal to you all the Jewish heroes, all the Jewish blood that was spilled. And there's still no victory. And yet there's an exchange of prisoners, but there's no victory. And they are claiming that they're going to have 1,000 more October 7th. I'll never understand that. Maybe somebody can explain it to me one day. And yet the Israeli government goes ahead with it. Those hostages that are still left are dead. They're going to use them as leverage. Anyway, without further pontification on my end, let's go to the Parsha. Just a few ideas here that I wanted to lay out. There's a very interesting statement in the Torah. It says, when the Jews went through the Red Sea, they went through the sea through the land. Bayam uyabasha. So when you read it, you have to think about it. Well, they went through the sea, and the land. Yabasha means more or less like terra firma. It means basically land. You wouldn't consider the ocean floor land. So it's a very strange combination of words that they use there. The Kabbalists give us a little bit of a hint, and it says that, by the way, on the seventh day of Passover, which is when they cross the sea, we stay up all night, and we're learning Torah, we're learning Kabbalah, we're learning other things. Very profound matters for that, to celebrate that awesome event in which the Jewish people, as it states in the Zohar, saw on that journey through the Red Sea, where you've got a wall of water on one side and another wall on the other side, preventing the Egyptians, all the rocks and fire bombs, everything that they're throwing in, everything was nullified. But what the Jewish people, as it says in the Zohar, what they saw, the revelations of godliness, that's the point I wanted to make here, that they saw were things that we can never even imagine. How could that be? God told them to cross the Red Sea in order to go to Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. Everything here on is this building of a connection between God and the Jewish people. For 210 years while they were in Egypt, it was basically bad news, idolatry stuff. Even though they had Jewish names and whatnot, it was pretty tough going in terms of faith. But of course, once a Jew is created, he's got this ahava mesuteret, a hidden love for God. Even though he could be the farthest, he could live on, in the Nepal mountains near Mount Everest, and still be connected to God in a very profound and unusual way. But what the Jews saw there was things that can't even be imagined. Godliness, true godliness, which we in our world, anybody that's seen any godliness lately? I don't. The only connection that we have to God, it says that when the temple was destroyed, the only place where God dwells is the 4 cubits of Jewish law. Arba amot shel halacha. What does that mean? Does that mean that when you open up a Jewish book, God is there with you? Well, in a way, yes. In a profound way that it's hard for me to explain standing on one foot. But the Torah is our sacred connection to God. And prior to Mount Sinai, of course, there was no Torah. But what they experienced on that jaunt through the Red Sea were revelations, and no, I'm sorry, not revelation. What's the word in English? I guess revelations, things that we can't even imagine. The profundity of God's, his how he dwells on the earth, our relationship with a super being who is omnipresent and yet not present. We don't see him, yet his entire glory fills the earth, as it says. All those things are explained on that seventh day of Passover, which is talked about in this parsha. So when they say, if you look at the parsha, the Jewish people went through the land, through the water, and then on the land. It's a very strange thing. The land meaning, the comparison in the Zohar is the fish that are in the sea. We don't see what's going on beneath the surface of the sea, right? But there's a whole bunch of things going on. Whatever we see on dry land is in the sea, but it's covered up. It's not revealed. And that which was those things, the sea is a metaphor for those things that are covered up, that are not revealed, aspects of godliness. When they crossed the Red Sea and when the sea opened up and the dry land was there, all those things that were concealed in the water, as it were now exposed, that people could see them, meaning profound aspects of divinity and of connection to God. So that's one thing that we wanted to talk about. Another thing is, what was their trajectory when they went through the Red Sea? They're pretty close to the land of Israel, right? Which is where they're trying to go. Turns out that God, in his infinite wisdom, took the Jewish people on a different route, a little circuitous. Rather, if they were to go straight, it would have been there would have been a lot of hardships, perhaps battles, and the Jewish people's connection with God after that was problematic. But sometimes we want this food, we want that food, where there's not enough water, all kinds of complaints. Ever known any Jews that didn't complain? Well, here it is. We talk about it in this week's Parsha. The second they went through the Red Sea, immediately they're starting kvetching about being thirsty and whatnot. So that is called, that route that they called was, oh gosh, what is the word? I'm trying to translate from Hebrew. Terrible, right? Yeah, got somebody trying to talk to you. It was the thing where there's a thing called a closure in Jewish law when you're in an area where the public domain is near the private domain, and there's hallways and different spaceways where there are openings. And so in the Torah it describes that, and it said that this place was too open. I have to apologize. I'm reaching for something and I forgot the word in English. Anyway, God, what he did is kept the people away from the battle, knowing that when people are in a battle, they want to go back, believe it or not, to Egypt. Why? They had cucumbers, they had fish, that kind of stuff. Cucumbers and fish. That's why they wanted to remain slaves. Now think about that. We talked about that last week or the week before. A very profound concept, to remain in slavery for some cucumbers and fish. They actually said that to Moses when Moses tried to leave them out. Anyway, I would wish everybody a wonderful Shabbat. We are having a beautiful celebration here where we are for the celebration of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and that's going to come this Shabbat. It's called Tu B'Shvat, not Tu B'Shvat, but Yud Shvat. I'm sorry, Yud Shvat, the 10th day of the month of Shvat. So we're going to be having that. Jewish leadership, very important. I can't tell you how important it is to have your family, all our families, connected with Torah learning. There's no substitute for it. You can be at the best charter school in the city. You can be a wizard at math or history or science, whatever. But if you don't have this connection, a spiritual connection, it's very, very difficult to get by in later years, especially. With that said, I wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom, and we should think about, as we read the Torah this Shabbat, we could think about us being with the Jews that on that fateful day when they crossed the Red Sea, and the revelations of godliness that they saw on their way to Mount Sinai. We could relive that through the Torah reading, and hopefully everybody will do that. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. God bless you all.
Jewish authority. Jewish authority. Jewish authority. Jewish authority.